The flight attendant notices him first. Seat 24B, middle-aged man, hasn't moved since they landed 20 minutes ago. Everyone else has deplaned. He's still sitting there, staring at the seat back in front of him. "Sir, we've arrived. You need to exit the aircraft." He looks up slowly. His eyes are hollow. "I know," he whispers. He stands, grabs his carry-on from the overhead bin, and walks toward the exit like a man heading to his own execution. His name is Victor Herrera. He's 47, arrived from San Salvador on flight 6293. He's wearing a wrinkled button-down shirt and dress shoes that look expensive but old. In his hand is a single carry-on bag, black, wheeled, standard size. He joins the line at immigration, hundreds of passengers moving through the checkpoints, families, business travelers, students. Victor stands perfectly still, eyes fixed on the floor. The woman behind him accidentally bumps his bag with her luggage cart. He flinches like he's been struck. Before we go further, this is exactly how ICE border security cases unfold. If you want to see how X-ray technology catches illegal migrants and failed declare forms, subscribe now. We break down real border cases every week. Victor reaches the immigration booth. The officer scans his passport. Purpose of visit? Medical treatment, Victor says. His voice is flat. Where will you be staying? My brother's house in Houston. How long? 3 weeks. The officer studies him for a moment. Victor's passport is legitimate, his visa is valid, but something about him triggers an instinct. The officer types a note into the system. Please proceed to baggage claim, then customs. Victor nods and walks through. At the customs station, Victor fills out his declare form. His hand is steady now, almost too steady. He checks every box with precision. Are you bringing fruits, vegetables, plants, or food products? No. Are you bringing $10,000 or more in currency? No. Are you bringing commercial merchandise? No. Do you have anything to declare? No. He signs at the bottom. Victor M. Herrera. He places the form in the collection bin and walks toward the X-ray checkpoint. Victor lifts his carry-on onto the belt. The machine hums as the bag disappears inside. On the screen, the operator sees clothing, compressed and tightly packed, a laptop, standard thickness, toiletries in a clear bag, a small box, metal, rectangular, about the size of a hardcover book. She zooms in on the box. The density is unusual, not electronics, not typical metal. There's something inside it, organic material, low density. She marks it. ICE officer Marcus Webb pulls Victor aside. "Sir, I need to examine your bag." Victor doesn't argue, doesn't ask why. He just nods. Webb opens the carry-on on the inspection table. Clothes, folded meticulously, 2 button-down shirts, 1 pair of jeans, underwear, socks, a leather toiletry kit, a laptop, 5 years old, scratched corners, and at the bottom, wrapped in a towel, a metal box, brushed steel, locked with a small combination lock. Webb picks it up. It's heavier than it looks. What's inside this? Victor's jaw tightens. Personal items. I need you to open it. It's private. Sir, you signed a declare form stating you have nothing restricted or illegal. I need to see inside this box. Victor closes his eyes. His hands move to the combination lock. 3, 7, 2, 1. Click. He opens it. Inside is a small urn, brushed copper, engraved with a name and 2 dates. Sofia Herrera, 2009-2024. Ashes. Webb's expression softens immediately. I'm so sorry for your loss. Is this your daughter? Victor nods, unable to speak. Webb carefully closes the box and hands it back. You're free to go. But as Victor reaches for his bag, something shifts. The towel around the urn falls open, and beneath it, tucked into the corner of the carry-on, a second item, a manila envelope sealed with packing tape. Webb's instincts kick back in. What's in the envelope? Victor freezes. Documents. What kind of documents? Silence. Sir, I need to see them. Victor's voice cracks. Please don't. Webb opens the envelope carefully. Inside, a birth certificate, Sofia Herrera, born in 2009, San Salvador. A death certificate, died in 2024, cause acute lymphoblastic leukemia. And 12 more birth certificates, none of them for Sofia. Different names, different ages, all from Central America, all issued within the last 6 months. Webb looks up. Mr. Herrera, what are these? Victor sits down slowly. They're the children I couldn't save. If you're still watching, understand this. X-ray technology doesn't just catch contraband, it catches the truth. Subscribe for weekly ICE border security breakdowns and real declare form violations that reveal what people are really carrying. Victor tells his story. 3 years ago, his daughter Sofia was diagnosed with leukemia. El Salvador's healthcare system couldn't provide the treatment she needed. He applied for a medical visa to bring her to the United States. Denied. He applied again. Denied. He sold everything he owned and paid a smuggler $18,000 to get Sofia across the border. She never made it. The truck she was in overheated in the Arizona desert. By the time Border Patrol found them, Sofia had been without water for 3 days. She died in a hospital in Tucson, alone. Victor wasn't allowed to cross the border to see her before she died. He received her ashes in the mail 6 weeks later. But Victor didn't stop there. After Sofia's death, he became obsessed. He started tracking the smuggler who took her, a man named Ernesto Campos. Campos operates a network that moves families with sick children across the border. He promises them medical care in America. He charges $15,000 to $25,000 per family. Most of them never make it. Over the past 2 years, Campos has been linked to the deaths of at least 12 children, but he's never been caught. Because he doesn't cross the border himself. He operates entirely from Central America, using mules and intermediaries. Victor spent 2 years infiltrating the network. He posed as a father looking to smuggle his own sick child. He gained Campos's trust, and he collected evidence. The birth certificates in Victor's envelope aren't random. They belong to children who died while being smuggled by Campos's network. Each certificate is paired with medical records showing terminal or critical illnesses, payment receipts showing money wired to shell companies,
GPS coordinates of where the children's bodies were found, testimony from families who lost children. Victor compiled it all. He was bringing it to the United States to give to federal authorities, but he failed to declare it because he was terrified ICE would confiscate it as evidence and deport him before he could testify. I needed to find someone who would listen, he says. Webb looks at the documents spread across the table. Why didn't you just send this digitally? Because Campos has people everywhere. Police, border agents, government officials. If I sent it electronically, it would disappear. So you carried it yourself? It was the only way. Webb calls his supervisor. Within an hour, Homeland Security investigations agents arrive. They review every document Victor brought. Birth certificates, death certificates, bank records, GPS data. It's a complete case file. But there's a problem. Victor entered the United States legally, but he lied on his declare form. Technically, he violated federal law. He could be detained, deported. The evidence he risked everything to bring could be seized as part of a criminal investigation, and he might never see justice served. The HSI lead agent, a woman named Jennifer Torres, sits across from Victor. "Mr. Herrera, you understand you broke the law." "I know. But you also brought us something we've been trying to build for 3 years." She slides a document across the table. "This is a cooperation agreement. You testify, you provide everything you know about Campos's network. In exchange, we don't charge you with the declare violation." Victor stares at the paper. "And Campos? If your evidence is solid, we'll work with El Salvador's government to extradite him." Victor picks up the pen. Over the next 6 weeks, HSI investigators use Victor's evidence to map Campos's entire operation. They identify 47 families who paid Campos to smuggle sick children, 19 children who died during smuggling attempts, 8 corrupt officials who helped facilitate crossings, 12 safe houses used to hold families before border crossings. They also find something Victor didn't know about. Campos wasn't just smuggling sick children. He was targeting families with terminally ill children specifically because he knew they were desperate enough to pay anything and desperate enough not to report him if things went wrong. He would take their money, put them in trucks with no air conditioning, no water, and no backup plan. If the children died, he'd tell the families it was God's will, and he'd move on to the next one. 4 months after Victor walked through the X-ray station, Salvadoran National Police, supported by ICE and HSI, raid Campos's compound outside El Salvador. They find over $2 million in cash, falsified medical documents, lists of families waiting to cross, burner phones with messages coordinating smuggling operations. Ernesto Campos is arrested. He's extradited to the United States to face federal charges, 19 counts of manslaughter, conspiracy to commit human smuggling, wire fraud, money laundering. He's facing life in prison. Victor testifies at Campos's trial via video link. He holds up a photo of Sofia. "This is my daughter. She was 14 years old. She loved to draw. She wanted to be an architect." He holds up the urn. "This is all I have left of her. And you," he says, looking directly at Campos through the screen, "you promised me you'd save her. You took my money. You put her in a truck in 110-degree heat with no water. She died begging for help." The courtroom is silent. Campos shows no emotion, but the jury does. They convict him on all counts. Ernesto Campos is sentenced to life in federal prison without parole. Victor Herrera is granted a special visa, allowing him to remain in the United States. He settles in Houston, near his brother. He gets a job as a translator for a nonprofit that helps migrant families navigate the legal system. Every year on Sofia's birthday, he visits the desert where she died. He places flowers, and he whispers her name. Because of Victor's evidence, HSI is able to contact the families of the other 12 children who died. Some of them didn't even know their children were dead. Campos had told them the crossings were delayed. Now they have answers. It doesn't bring their children back, but it gives them the truth. And for some, that's enough to finally grieve. Back at the airport, the X-ray operator who flagged Victor's bag never learns his story. She scans thousands of bags every week. Most of them are clean. Some contain items that need secondary inspection, but only a few contain something that changes everything. She flagged the metal box because the density was unusual. She didn't know it contained a child's ashes. She didn't know it would lead to the takedown of a smuggling network. She just did her job, and sometimes that's all it takes. Here's what ICE officers know. When you sign a declare form, you're making a legal statement. You're swearing that you've disclosed everything. Most people who failed to declare aren't trying to break the law. They're scared. They're protecting something. They're carrying evidence of crimes they witnessed or memories of people they lost. Victor Herrera violated his declare form. He could have been prosecuted, but what he was carrying was more important than the law he broke, and that's the complexity of border security. Not everyone who lies is a criminal, but the X-ray doesn't know the difference. It just shows what's hidden. Victor's case opened doors to something much larger. Campos's operation was just one branch of a network spanning 6 countries. HSI continues to investigate. Other smugglers using the same tactic, targeting families with sick children. Corrupt medical officials selling falsified diagnoses to justify travel. Shell companies laundering smuggling profits through legitimate businesses. The investigation is ongoing, but it started with one man, one urn, one envelope he was too afraid to declare. The children who died in Campos's network were ages 4 to 16. They had leukemia, heart defects, kidney disease, rare genetic disorders. Their families sold homes, borrowed from loan sharks, mortgaged their futures, all to pay a man who promised hope and delivered death. Some of their bodies were never recovered. Some were buried in unmarked graves in the desert. A few made it to hospitals before dying, but their families were never notified. Victor's evidence gave them names back, gave them graves to visit, gave them closure. ICE doesn't just catch drugs and weapons, they catch stories. Some of those stories are about criminals trying to profit from human suffering. Some are about desperate people making impossible choices. And some, like Victor's, are about a father who lost everything and decided the only thing left to do was to fight back. The declare form is simple. Do you have anything to declare? But the answer is never as simple as yes or no, because what people carry across borders isn't always physical. Sometimes it's grief. Sometimes it's evidence. Sometimes it's the weight of children who never got to grow up. Victor keeps Sophia's urn in his apartment in Houston. Next to it, he's placed photos of the other 12 children. He doesn't know most of their families, but he knows their names. And once a year, he lights 12 candles, one for each child Campos killed. He doesn't pray. He just sits in silence and remembers. Victor now works with ICE and HSI as a consultant. He helps them identify patterns in smuggling operations that target vulnerable families. He reviews cases. He translates documents. He testifies when needed. He's not an agent.
He's not a lawyer. He's just a father who knows what it's like to be lied to by someone who promised to save your child. And he's made it his life's mission to make sure fewer families experience what he did. The X-ray machine doesn't judge. It doesn't know if you're a criminal or a grieving father. It just reveals what you tried to hide. Victor tried to hide evidence, not because he was guilty, but because he was afraid it would be taken from him before he could use it. He was right to be afraid, but he was also right to carry it anyway, because sometimes breaking the rules is the only way to expose the people who break something far worse, the trust of families who have nothing left to lose. This is real ICE border security, no exaggeration, just the cases you don't hear about. Subscribe now for weekly breakdowns of X-ray detections, declare form violations, and illegal migrant network takedowns. Remember, always declare everything, even if you think it will be taken. ICE officers are trained to distinguish between criminals and victims. The X-ray reveals what's hidden, but the story behind it reveals the truth. Another passenger is walking through the terminal right now. Another declare form is being signed. Another bag is about to pass through the X-ray. And another story, one we may never hear, is about to unfold. Subscribe to see the ones we do.